The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Hello, welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And I don't know if we're having little difficulties today, a little technical difficulty, but we'll manage to get through. Well, City Council met last night and talked about the hot potato, the pay-as-you-throw. They didn't talk much about it. They referred it back to committee, but there's a lot to be said about this whole process and all lack thereof. You know, the fact that we have heard that Mayor Sutter has said that he doesn't care what the city council action is, that he's going to begin to implement fines within a couple weeks. That frankly distresses me because, you know, why bother putting it in front of the council if you don't give two craps what they do with it? If you were going to do it without them, why? What was that? Purely a gesture to reinforce the fact that you didn't do it alone, even though you were going to do it regardless. I don't know. That doesn't seem. It doesn't seem right. When the Board of Health took this under advisement and then ultimately voted it in. I did appear before that committee, and I read them a section of the law that basically said, the law they were using, by the way, the section of the law they were using, which said that the city council did not abrogate its authority because of a Board of Health action. In other words, the city council has ultimate authority. They are fundamentally the Ways and Means, the financial arm of our government. They have to approve expenditures, and they have to also impose ordinances to collect fines. So this whole thing's been a mess from the beginning, and there's been a lot of, there's been a lot of excuses and stories about why this came to be and what it is. And I'll get into that later, but with my mini opening, preparing us for my dissertation, CJ, weigh in.
Oh, weigh in. I'm a big guy. I weigh a lot. You know, it's just amazing that last night was, especially after Tuesday. Monday. Monday was the ordinance committee meeting. And I went and I, gave them a few good quotes. I think the best quote that I gave them was when I closed, as Jason Correa was trying to rush me away, was, that rebellion against tyrants is obedience to God. And that's what we have here. We have a city council and a mayor who are tyrants, absolute tyrants. There's no question about it. So, King George got the boot. Our most recent King George, our most recent tyrant, William Flanagan, got the boot. Hopefully in November, these people start giving some boots. But I think what you saw last night was political ploys, political games to make sure that they retain those seats. And it was shameful. For 5+ years, and you can correct me, Chip, because you would know better than I, the city council has refused to buy another piece of fire apparatus, a new truck, a new anything. They've refused, absolutely refused. Unless the federal government was paying for it, they wanted nothing to do with it. But all of a sudden, Councilor Pereira can come out and say, oh, we need a bond for new fire engines because we had 2 break down. Stop. Stop the political games. This was something you should have done years ago. We had over 300 firefighters at one time. We had working apparatus. We had the best fire department going. And we still have a great bunch of men doing the job. The problem is we have a bunch of idiots on the city council who are afraid to do their job. And that's not acceptable. It's just not acceptable. And to use it as a political ploy, a political game to make sure you get reelected, says to me that all you're in this for is to make sure you can keep your seat, you can keep bolstering your pensions, and you can make sure you got your health care. And that does not fly with me. It does not fly with me. Okay? We need to be sure that we have a safe community, regardless of what your opinion is. Because let me tell you something. Your opinion doesn't count. My opinion counts. Your opinion counts, Chip. The voters of Fall River's opinion counts. The people in this community count. Just because you don't think it's right doesn't mean that the people don't think it's right. And that's what you're elected to do. Represent the people, not your self-interest.
Wow. Okay, CJ. Well, obviously, welcome to my world. I had to put up with that for my entire career. Cut the fire department anytime that you wanted to increase taxes and then say we needed it to maintain a fire department. That's the oldest ploy in the world. Every city and town throughout this state and throughout this nation tries to use public safety as a pawn. And that pawn is to make people say, well, if I'm going to pay more taxes, obviously I'm willing to protect myself. I need police and I need fire. And it's normally fire first, because in my 38 years on the fire department, I never went to a fire and had the individual whose property was burning say to me, gee, I knew I was going to have a fire. No, nobody expects to have a fire on their property, in their home. It happens to somebody else. They look at it on the news. Where with crime, everybody believes that their house can be broken into, that there can be crime perpetrated on them. So the police, while sometimes they're cut, it's always fire first, because they'll take the chance that they won't have it, because they'll say, well, I've never had a fire, and maybe I won't. Well, that's unfortunately not the way you have to do it. You have to maintain levels of public safety in both police and fire. They shouldn't be used as pawns, either department. And I'm sick and tired of it. And this apparatus baloney, we always got apparatus through the feds, CDA. All the apparatus in my entire career was bought through CDA, basically. The fact is, it's out there. Why hasn't it been done? Well, it's because sometimes you got to kick them in the butt. They'll always use money to do other things. The fire department's like the orphan child until you want to use them as a pawn. The fact is, I had to go and complain as the president of the union about 20-year-old plus apparatus, and then they wouldn't even spend the money to buy new apparatus at the time because they were spending money elsewhere. What did they do? They refurbished them. It lasted for a little while, and then ultimately we began to replace apparatus. But the fact is, listen, 2 pieces broke down, fine. Why don't we check the maintenance? How's the maintenance being done? Apparatus does break down. It's a piece of machinery. Things do happen. As the bumper sticker says, what happens. But that's a reality. But what upsets me is the use of these things. Because every time they tell us, pay us this money and we're going to give it to the fire department. They give it to the fire department for one year, and then the next year it disappears, and they need more money, and they say again, give us more money. We need the money to keep the fire department at full complement. Baloney. We lost 11 positions that was city funded last fiscal year. Where'd that money go? Where is it? Where did they divert that money to? Nobody can answer those questions. It disappears in that giant vacuum we call a city. And I'm sick and tired of these rationalizations and excuses. We hear them all. There's an answer for everything. And guess what? Anytime you see somebody who has a dependency on some kind of substance, what's the first thing they do? They've got a story for everything, an excuse for everything as to why they're in that position. They don't take responsibility for their own actions. They don't admit they have a problem. Well, guess what? Fall River, we're an addict. We have an addiction to to welfare, state aid and federal aid. And we maintain that addiction by making excuses. There's always a story. Everything comes with a story. We got to do this. Why didn't we plan for the closing of the landfill? Why didn't we plan for the end of the SAFER grant? Why didn't we plan for the end of the police grant? Why didn't we plan? Why did we give out pay raises and then blame that for a deficit? Well, you know, you gave it out. The mayor negotiated the contract. The city council funded it. Why? Why? Because we don't care. Because it's not their money. They just tax and spend some more. And the reality is, you know, Newton. Oh, and then I saw a post. Well, you know, the houses in Newton are worth more. They actually, you know, their tax rate is lower, but they pay more money because their houses are worth more. Well, guess what? Duh. They also make 3.5 times what we make in this city. The cost of living in this city is far lower. Take a ratio. I'm tired of you people. You use everything, you use arguments in both directions. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't say that our tax rate is too low and then complain because somebody else has a lower tax rate than us. And we cite it. And they say, well, their houses are worth more. Well, of course the houses are worth more. Maybe if we brought in people with money and we cultivated 14,000 businesses rather than 4,000, our houses would be worth more. Maybe this community would be worth more. No. Are we going to ever be a Newton? No. Newton's a suburb of Boston. A lot of people that work in Boston are going to live in the suburbs, but we have a prime location. We have lower house prices. We have a lot of things going for us if we use them. The reality is, I'm tired of it. But what can we learn from Newton? What we can learn from anybody. When you try to learn how to play golf, you don't go to somebody who shoots 200 to learn how to play golf. You don't go to your neighbor that just took up the game. You go to a golf professional. If you want to, you know, you go to a professional. And when you try to do things, you try to learn from people who were successful, not people who were unsuccessful. So Newton's a successful city. Let's look at it. Let's look at the Newton budget. Wow, the Newton budget, you can actually read it. And it actually says what they're going to do. And nobody comes in 2 weeks after the budget asking for money that they didn't put in their budget. These are the kind of things we can look at. And you know something? Yeah, you know, Newton does have a lower tax rate. They also have higher incomes and higher house prices, but it's a ratio. Take how much the tax rate and the fee increases in Fall River affect somebody with an income of $34,000, proportionate to the fees and taxes that somebody who's got an income of $113,000 has to pay in Newton. I don't think they're paying much more than us, and they have a hell of a lot better lifestyle. The difference is in Newton, they spend their money wisely. In this city, we just piss it in a hole, and that's the reality of it. And I'm tired of it. And I'm tired of them spending money everywhere and ignoring us. The mayor has said, I don't care what the city council does. I'm going to implement these fines in 2 weeks. And I will tell you on the air right now, I will file a 10 taxpayer suit as soon as he implements those fines without city council action. CJ, back to you.
Interesting, because under 38 Section 14, you can file for a judicial review. So, you know, for those of you out there who think we're idiots and we don't know what we're talking about, guess what? We kind of do. I think it's very interesting, though, that you talk about that, because so many people have vilified you, me, and other people about comparing us to Newton. You know, when you look at the Newton budget, they actually have a plan. The budget comes out and they say, we need this amount of money for this year, and this is what we plan on doing. And then next year, the first thing on that budget is, this is what we said we were going to do, this is what we did, and here's why we didn't do it, or here's how successful we were at doing it. At least you know where your money's going. The other thing is, in 3 weeks or 4 weeks down the road, they don't come and say, oh, by the way, we forgot this in the budget, we need $2.5 million for a new truck, okay? Because you know what they say there? It wasn't in your budget, you don't get it. You don't get it. But in Fall River, the way we do business is, we just go and we do it. But when you're talking about budgets, let's talk about a few things. They're already working on the fiscal year 2016 budget, 2016. Do you know that solid waste because from my inside sources, already has a $3 million deficit next year. $3 million! And guess what's included in that budget? Pay as you throw. Do you wonder why the city is going to start enforcing? I'll tell you why. The city has a database already. You know those little white cards that you kept getting saying, you're not using the purple bags, you're not using the purple bags? Guess what? That name and address is in the database. And effective the date that the mayor, remember, not the city council, the mayor specifies, the city will issue tickets for enforcement. Now, when you consider that there's 1,700 people at approximately $300 a ticket, my quick math says $510,000. Now, won't that meet this year's pay-as-you-throw shortfall, which is approximately $800,000? Amazing how the numbers are starting to jive now that we're looking at enforcement. But the really important thing to know is, as was made at a neighborhood meeting, I spoke with Ken Pacheco, and we talked about a project that we both could agree on, a transfer station with material handling. Okay? It would cost about $5 million, 5.3, 5.6, to convert the old incinerator and that land to handle a transfer station and material waste handling. City doesn't want a bond for that. Well, you know, my math, and again, figures don't lie, but liars can figure, says that pay as you throw for 2 years at a $3 million a year revenue stream could pay off that improvement in 2 years. And I'm quite sure that the people of Fall River would turn around and say, hey, I'll pay for it for 2 years so that at the end of 2 years, we are handling our own trash responsibly and we're actually making a buck off of it. But do we do that? No, because a statement was made, whether it was made intentionally or unintentionally, that the problem is that we can't do that because that $3 million from the pay-as-you-throw has already been included to fill budgetary holes elsewhere in the city. So we would actually have to raise $6 million to fund it, which should pay for it in 1 year then, but we got to fill the budgetary holes. So, Mr. Mayor and gentlemen and ladies on the city council, go check out your facts. Okay? Before you open your mouth again, check your facts. I know I have, and you don't like me for it. As a matter of fact, the one thing I have been noticing, and that's why I've been kind of absent at city council meetings, is number one, when you're there too often, you're, you know, a clanging bell. They just don't hear you anymore. But more importantly is, you make sure you get me out of there as fast as you possibly can. I feel like I'm on WSAR.
You know, you're right, CJ. And the other thing is, you know, let's all agree that we're tired of being lied to. Look, you know the old adage about, you know, if you're going to urinate on my head, at least extend me the courtesy of not trying to convince me it's raining. Well, you know, I'm tired, especially of pay-as-you-throw. We've heard every kind of baloney in the world about pay-as-you-throw. It was about making us recycle more. It's about, having people, be more judicious about their trap. Blah blah. Look, it was implemented on the fly within a 45-day period or so because we needed money. Let's not pretend that pay-as-you-throw is anything but what it really is, a tax. They taxed us to the max of 2.5. They raised the water fee. They imposed the meter fee. They raised excise. They raised everything they could, and they still couldn't raise enough money, so we had to find another source of revenue. So somebody said, let's do pay-as-you-throw. And the problem with that attitude is, again, we've reinforced the way we do business in this city. That is, do anything you want, and when the bill comes due, then figure out where you're going to get the money. And that normally means there's only one place to get the money: the taxpayer, the tenant, the citizens of Fall River, most of whom, the few that do work, have to bear the brunt of the burden. The 37% of the people who own property have to bear this burden. And granted, there are a few of the 1%ers in Fall River who don't care. They don't care about it because, look, they're not the ones who can't even go out and eat where a small Portuguese restaurant has just closed its doors. You know, it's like you can't sustain business because people can't spend money. But I'm tired of the lies, and I'm tired of the way we do business. As we said, you want to learn something from Newton? Look at their budget. If you don't put it in a budget, you don't get the money. You can't spend. I mean, even our government, as as bureaucratic and sometimes, totally insane as it is, they at least pretend that they look for money before they spend it. That's the reason that they have a Ways and Means Committee on the state and the federal level. Maybe we should have a Ways and Means Committee on the city council, because we need the ways and the means to pay for things before we do them. You don't go out and spend money and then look for it. You know, you don't go down and buy a brand new car and sign a purchase and sales agreement on a house and then figure out you got $27 in your bank account. But that's the way Fall River does business, people. That's what we do. Because then what Fall River does is they go to all their neighbors and get the money. See, that's the way I wish we could all live like that. I wish I could go out and buy a Ferrari, and buy $1 million log cabin or something like that and put it up in the reservation, and I could play Grizzly Adams, and then run around to all my neighbors and say, hey, I'm about $3 million in debt and I got $27 in the bank. Hey, can I borrow some money? Give me some money, give me some money, give me some money. Give me some credit cards. That's what Fall River does. This is the way we do business. And we wonder why people think we're ridiculous. The rest of the state thinks we're fools down here. They think we're all idiots. And people go, oh, you're negative. I'm not being negative. You people complain about, what Boston thinks of Fall River. Well, guess what? We bring it on ourselves. 84% of our budget is aid. This is Welfareville. And you wonder why they look down and go, these people can't run their own house. We're the laughingstock of the state. And then we got these people going, don't say that, you're negative. Well, I'm not negative. I'm just realistic. I look at the facts. We have the second highest percentage of people living below the poverty level. We have the second lowest income. What does that tell you? We're the second lowest in businesses for cities of our size. But no, the Messiah says we shouldn't say that because it'll make people not come to Fall River. Well, if you got a big business and you had enough brains to make money in that business, you got enough brains to do a demographic study of the city you're coming into to see if your company will be able to get some money. And as CJ said, Walmart did that. Walmart knows, hey, we cater to low-income people. And we'll even charge them more because they got nowhere else to go. And those are the only kind of companies that come here. People that take advantage of TIFs and people who take advantage of poor people. CJ?
Well, Chip, you're so right. And, we've been saying this for a while. But let's talk about a little bit about fees for those people who missed it in the city council meeting because they were all focused on pay as you're a nitwit. The water department submitted their fee increases. The CSO fee's going up. $41 a quarter now for all those residential properties. And those base meter fees, which we told would never be touched? Guess what? They now have a level. Different size fees, different amount fees for different size meters. So again, lies, more lies, and increasing lies. But in one respect also, they're really not a lie, because Sam Sutter said very clearly, oh, we have to raise fees. We have to raise fees on the water department. We have to raise fees on the sewer department. We have to raise fees on EMS. So Sam didn't lie to us. Those department heads lied to us. Oh, wait a minute, Terry Sullivan would never lie to us, so I can't believe that. But, you know, this is what we get in Fall River. Okay, you have to pay for it. How come I have to pay? Because of your mistake. You make a mistake and I get the bill. That doesn't seem right. I mean, we look at what just happened to Leo Pelletier, which, by the way, even after the person who filed the complaint came out and said he filed the complaint, I still got blamed for it. Hey, knock yourself out. I like being the brunt of abuse. But, you know, we never did it that way. We didn't have to worry about it. So this is how we do business at Fall River. We don't care about, and Chip, you've said this before, we don't care about the law. Even the mayor, the current mayor, said it's legal until the court says otherwise. This is Fall River's idea of doing business, okay? And then for people to turn around and say, I want to speak with you about what you have to say because it's very negative. It is going to paint Fall River in a negative light, and nobody's going to want to come to Fall River. Nobody wants to come here now. And even if they did, why? They want to see the pothole museum? They don't have to go too far. We laugh about it, but this has gotten to the point now where it's no longer fun. It's no longer acceptable. It's very frustrating. I sit there and I bang my head against the wall saying, why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep putting myself through this? You know?
Well, that's the key, CJ. I think that they can call you and I and anybody who speaks, attempts to speak the truth and tries to fix the city by being realistic, because like any substance abuser, you first have to realize you have a problem before you fix it, rather than try to say this city's wonderful and the world's wrong. The reality is that we've stayed here. You can say what you want, people, but I'm still paying taxes in this city. And I stayed, and I'm trying to fight the fight to fix the city. I didn't run away. I didn't move to Somerset. I didn't move to Westport. We're here. So guess what? You have a right to your opinion, but I got a right to mine too, because I pay taxes in this city and I vote in this city. And if you don't like it, you can kiss me where the sun doesn't shine. And we're going to have to tape another show because Friday, CJ is off to I don't know where he's going. I think he's going to try to leave town, but we're going to have to tape another show, and we'll pick up this conversation. So if the show looks like they're running back to back, they are, because Friday's show is going to be taped, and we apologize for not being live.
Yes, I've got to go to my daughter's wedding. So it should be an interesting time this weekend.
Well, that's a feeble excuse. No, Mike, no, congratulations.
Tell my daughter that, because I'm sure she'll be more than willing to give you an earful.
I know.
But, it's really sad. A couple of things, though, house cleaning stuff. We've been looking for some time now for a couple of interns for the show. To learn video broadcasting and whatnot. We've also been looking for a web developer. So if you're interested, if you have any background and you'd like to do a little bit of volunteer work to build up your portfolio, please give us a phone call. We're definitely here, and we're always looking to make somebody else the next star of Fall River. But, keep watching, keep acting, and keep fighting, because let me tell you something. Remember, rebellion against tyrants is obedience to God. Thanks for watching. You have a great